American Idol. American Idol. American Idol. American Idol. Yeah. Wash them out your heart and your mind. Why would you worship a shrine? Really, it's the blind lead the blind. Praise Yah for you run out of time. American Idol. American Idol. American Idol. I sold my soul for the money, man, at the altar. For Versace and the Mozzie, man, my soul I bartered. I love the money and the power more than my daughter, or my son, or my mother, man. In the story, there's no need to deny my idolatry. Now I'm on my knees to the Most High for apologies, chasing after other mighty ones and their philosophies. Now I know the causes of the curses, Deuteronomy. You used to chase money like it's God. He didn't know your shrine used to be your fancy car. She didn't know you used to sacrifice to the baddest bras. They didn't know. Now I'm a Hebrew Israelite, y'all. Now you know the two very most important commandments of His law is not to worship or bow to any other gods. Lusting after flesh and strange objects. What a mirage. Never put your faith in they stripes or they stars. American Idol. American Idol. Man, they tuning in and tuning now. What you chase a high that take you up but take you down? On your face is Andy Molly's or the perks, man. Or the Breaking Bad. Everything you love by designer and you poppin' tags. Walking shrine. You consume anything, anytime. So don't complain. Your life is empty. Here's some cheese. For that wine you love the blood. On this cheese rat. So you dropping dimes. You covet mine and everything you see. Cause your spirit's blind. Always on your elbows and knees. Cause you love the bottle. What they say to what they do. Always following the crowd. But who you are, you don't know. Got a milli but you broke. But ask yourself, which false gods are you killing for? Capitalism is the ism of our prison. Got us acting like whores, loving pimping. Man, you dripping. What's your idol? Chopper rims, gold chains, the new slavery. Rapper, singer, actors, S&M for your misery. Born social media, it can be a sports team. Flipping bricks on the beam, not loving your Elohim. Crashing, burning, hit the ground. Hit the ground, love the Trump, Nino Brown, Robert Lee, fuck the clown. American Idol. American Idol.
American Idols. The spiritual truth behind the resistance to the removal of historically racist statues and symbols. Leon Benson. Follow. 14 minutes read. October 16th, 2024. 1. Wash em out ya heart and ya mind. Why would you worship a shrine? Really, it's the blind leading the blind. Praise Yah before you run out of time. American Idols. L. Bentley 448. During the 25 years I was wrongfully incarcerated in Indiana, 10 consecutive years of which I spent in solitary confinement, I became more serious about my thinking and practice of spirituality. Since my exoneration March 9th, 2023, I have come to see many spiritual and existential truths underlining many of our today's personal, social, and political issues. While peering at society from a prison cell window, one of the issues I observed in awe was the underpinning spiritual and psychological warfare of the proposed removal of historically racist statues, symbols, and flags from public domain. When reflecting back, I recall 4 key events that finally compelled many city and state officials around the UDollar to remove these images and symbols from public display. Although precipitated by many other prior events, starting in 2015 with the Charleston, South Carolina church massacre, an anti-black mass shooting and hate crime that left 9 people dead and 1 injured during a Bible study. This occurred at the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, the oldest black church in the southern United States. One of the church's founders in 1822 was a free black man by the name of Denmark Vesey, who was implicated in a slave revolt plot. Second, in 2017 the Unite the Right rally was a white supremacist rally that took place in Charlottesville, Virginia. Protesters included members of the alt-right, neo-Confederates, neo-fascists, white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Klansmen, and far-right militias. These groups chanted racist and anti-Semitic slogans and carried weapons, Nazi and neo-Nazi symbols, the Valnut, Confederate battle flags, Deus Vult crosses, and other racist symbols. The organizers were trying to unify the American white nationalist movement by opposing the removal of the statue of General Robert E. Lee from Charlottesville's former Lee Park. The rally's violence resulted in 1 death and 30 others being injured, while also sparking a national debate over Confederate iconography, racial violence, and white supremacy. Third, in 2020 the COVID pandemic had the world in a hysteria. And finally, weeks later, and after the brutal murder of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis, Minnesota, it sparked one of the biggest national and multicultural protests in UDollar history. These protests only amplified the demands made by anti-racist groups like the Black Lives Matter movement to remove all historically racist symbols and statues from public domain, specifically from government, educational, and entertainment institutions. Of course, this came with huge opposition not only from the extreme right-wing conservatives, but from seemingly regular white folk and even from then UDollar President Donald Trump. From my perspective, this was more of a spiritual struggle than a political one. From a spiritual and psychological lens, it all makes sense to me. Maybe you will agree after reading further. By those racist symbols from Americans' dark colonial past, whether statues, flags, or images, continually being displayed by today's most prestigious UDollar government, educational, religious, and public institutes, these institutions are inherently legitimizing the inhumanity of the slavery of Africans and the genocide of Native Americans. In turn, this purposeful or blind endorsement by these institutes of power only gives others the permission to be racist and perpetuate spiritual and psychological trauma to the present-day Native and African Americans, which by proxy leaves many white people traumatized too. Biblical origins of idols. Ironically, since this country's founding was deeply shaped by biblical values, let's look deeper at the first 2 of the 10 commandments found in Torah, the first 5 books of the Holy Bible. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt make no graven images. Exodus 20:26. History reveals that while many of UDollar founding fathers had strong Christianity backgrounds, they did not adhere to these and many other principles from the Bible, due to different forms of deism. While deism taught that all people can know and believe in a supreme being, the primary mover of all things, merely through rational thought and reason. It also brought on a worldview of survival of the fittest as a means to justify immoral behaviors and ideas like slavery, colonialism, misogyny, and greed as natural law. This thinking played a huge role in the ideology of manifest destiny, where white settlers thought themselves ordained by the Creator to expand their colonialism to the west coast of North America, which resulted in the genocide of millions of Native Americans. This hypocrisy was apparent in the Declaration of Independence of 1776 when Thomas Jefferson wrote, "All men are created equal, but owned slaves and allowed slavery to continue and freedoms to be taken away from marginalized groups such as women, Africans, and Native Americans." The Declaration of Independence only benefited white men like the Founding Fathers at the time. Today this trend still persists. Common sense tells us that before people commit to vowing to worship any idol or object, that it has to be an idea in their minds first. Let's take a deeper look at what the words idol, idea, and ideal really mean. First, since the Torah was originally written in the ancient Hebrew, we must observe what the word idol originally meant. Pixel, also carved idol, image, graven image, e.g. part of the first or second of the 10 Commandments depending on denomination. Elil, also false god, worthless, e.g. Leviticus 26:1. Masika, also, molten idol, molten image, molten god, e.g. Deuteronomy 27:15. Above we read that the ancients referred to idols as an image whether that image was carved, graven, or molten. Either way, idols are images that started from people's own imaginations or influenced by the thoughts of others. Now we are back to the idea. Here are root meanings of the words idea, ideal and idol. Idea comes from the ancient Greek word, delta alpha, which means to form, pattern, from the root word of delta epsilon nu, which means to see. Ideal comes from Greek, delta alpha, which means form, pattern, from the root word, delta epsilon nu, which means to see. Idol comes from the German word idol, vain, idol, German idel, vain, conceited, and possibly the Old Norse ill, bad, English ill. The aforementioned reveals the obvious intention by the Hebrew Israelite creator, Yahweh, according to the authors of the Torah, who knew that the children of Israel needed their minds clear from idle, vain, and ideas that would distract them or cause them to sin, which means straying or missing the mark from universal law. It's funny to me that phonetically idol and idol are pronounced the same. While I understand the modern meaning of the word idol can include someone of great influence and admiration from others, whether good or bad. Such influential people can become a role model for others to follow. I am the first to say that there is nothing wrong with modeling yourself after another person whose success and positivity are apparent, but it's a whole other issue to worship them. From my observations, to prevent such thinking, I believe that this was the very reason why the first 2 commandments were given before the all others in the Bible. As early as 2007 I heard another prisoner yell from their cage while we were held in the same solitary confinement unit, "A man's highest ideal is his God." This made me think. I personally don't know anyone who really saw the creator of the universe. Therefore, I have come to believe that the creator is an ideal. And one of the highest ideals of the creator is love. While I have never seen the creator in the literal sense, I have witnessed the highest ideal of love shown by that of loving mothers. As a practicing Israelite, my highest ideal is Yah/Creator, the sublime, undescribed beauty, and entirety of the universe. We were all made in Yahweh's image and likeness, General 2:7. If we are already considered gods, according to the book of Psalm 82, what sense does it make to worship created things and ideas, or even other humans? Practically this applies to anyone beyond my spirituality. Because true spirituality is always a journey within, not without. If you want to know the Creator, do not look to the sky, underground, or across seas, but inside yourself. We are creators, but we must not fall into the trap of worshiping others or our own creations. Idolatry of ideas. They changed the truth of Elohim into a lie and worshipped and served created things, rather than Yahweh who is blessed forever. Romans 1:25-26. This scripture relates to the political resistance not to remove historically racist statues and symbols from the public domain, as a form of idolatry and Pygmalionism. Which leads me to a fascinating story from Greek mythology. The king of Cyprus, Pygmalion, sculpted a female statue so beautiful that he fell in love with it. He prayed to the gods to bring it to life. His prayers were answered, the statue was brought to life and he named her Galatea. They went on to marry and have a child. Mythology should not be taken literally, but rather seen for its universal and spiritual truths laced within the metaphor of the ancient art of storytelling. From the Pygmalion myth is derived modern psychological and social terms. One of those terms is called Pygmalionism, which is defined as 1. A sexual attraction to statues, dummies, or any symbol of human form, and 2. Falling in love with one's own creation. I want to put an emphasis on one falling in love with their own created ideas and ideals going forward. In Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson's book entitled Pygmalion in the Classroom, 1968, their social experiments showed how the expectations of supervisors or teachers affect the performance of their subordinates or students. Their groundbreaking work extended far beyond classrooms and work environments, but throughout social life. Rosenthal and Jacobson's work highlighted the phenomena of self-fulfilling prophecy, the idea that self-held beliefs can come true in reality. The two dynamics behind this self-fulfilling prophecy are termed Pygmalion effect is when a person behaves through a self-fulfilling prophecy based on the positive expectations of others. Golem effect is when a person behaves through a self-fulfilling prophecy based on the negative expectations of others. The ideas of positivity and negativity are the driving forces behind these so-called self-fulfilling prophecies. Observing the negative side of the coin, in modern times golem is defined as an automated object or robot. Basically, golem is an android. Going further into history, in Yiddish mythology, the golem were a mass of clay that were brought to life by magic to serve its creators by doing tasks assigned to it, which included protecting the community from. However, the moral of the story always ended in the tragedy of golem becoming violent and turning on its own creators. Golem is but one of the origin stories that many historians believe inspired the late English author, Mary Shelley's 1818 classic novel Frankenstein, which is based on the fictional character Victor Frankenstein, whose creation turned on him. Today, the so-called monster is now known as Frankenstein. Many people lose sight that the real monster was the one who created such a thing. Let's put the golem effect in context of those who have socially engineered the monsters of ideas, graven images, and the idols of negativity and destruction. Here are some of their creations: misogyny, bitch, whore, slut, etc., racism, niggers, spics, chinks, gingers, engines, etc., consumers, workers, criminals, thugs, super predators, drug dealers, terrorists, etc., and even artificial intelligence. The golem effect can be viewed as generations of American people being brainwashed by those who socially engineered self-fulfilling prophecies that were destructive, because it worked in the interest of those who created such expectations. The historical root of many of these creations started long before the founding of the United States, which can be traced back to the earliest practices of patriarchy. Patriarchy is the manifestation and institutionalization of male domination over women, children, the poor, and the undesirables, xenophobia, racism, homophobia, transphobia, etc. In addition, according to an Anti-Oppression Resource and Training Alliance's 2017 resource packet entitled Challenging Patriarchy and Sexism, patriarchy, male supremacy, is supported by the following intersecting systems, or pillars. Gender binary, a system that defines and makes room for two and only two distinct, natural, and opposite genders, i.e., male and female. Misogyny, the hatred of women, girls, and femininity. This manifests in many ways, such as violence against women, violence against feminine men, rape culture, the devaluing of traditionally feminized work, etc. Heterosexism, the idea that heterosexuality and only heterosexuality is natural, normal, superior, and required. This can refer to any institution or belief system that excludes lesbian, non-labeling, bisexual, transgender, queer, and gay people. Heterosexism is deeply rooted in the culture and institutions in our society. Homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia all stem from and are supported by heterosexism. White supremacy, a historically based, institutionally perpetuated system of exploitation and oppression of continents, nations, and peoples of color by white peoples and nations of the European continent, for the purpose of maintaining and defending a system of wealth, power, and privilege. Capitalism, an economic and social system in which the means of production are largely in private or corporate hands, and the main incentive of economic activity is the accumulation of profits. This often results in class divisions, and exploitation of workers for the purposes of increasing profits. Now that the golem and Pygmalion effects are more apparent, the modern practitioners of patriarchy invented white supremacy and capitalism, and are in fact the true monsters of their own negative ideals: gangsters, niggers, homophobia, cheap labor, whores, AI, and fascism. Let's hold the social mirror up to the faces of the real monsters and allow them to see themselves. Surely this would be too much of a shock for the true engineers of madness. Which draws us to my next point. Over time, this pathological, collective consciousness has fallen in love with its own corrupt ideas. This is the equivalence of someone creating a fake god as a means to control the masses, but in time ended up worshipping their own lie. That's a twist of irony. Naturally, after decades and centuries of such prevailing ideas, they will get watered down and lose their original contextual luster. Presently, it can be seen by not only the American ruling class, but throughout its global ruling network, the obsession with the bodies of women and people of color, the obsession with black and brown culture, the obsession with technology, and the obsession with queer culture, the obsession with social status and materialism, and finally, the obsession with racist ideas and symbols. Sociologist Pete Simi calls this latter obsession an addiction. In Addicted to Hate, Identity Residual Among Former White Supremacists, 2023, Dr. Simi and colleagues wrote, addiction, on the other hand, can be defined as thoughts, emotions, bodily experiences, and unwanted behavior of a chronic, relapsing, and compulsive nature that occur despite negative consequences and are characterized by episodes where people feel they have lost control. Basically, the process of leaving deeply meaningful and embodied identities, such as the ideas of white supremacy, can be experienced as a struggle against addiction, with continuing cognitive, emotional, and physiological responses that are involuntary, unwanted, and triggered by environmental factors. Simi's point hits home when we see a withdrawal response in the fear of losing the idolatry of the ideology of obsessive resistance, mainly white males, to the removal and destruction of Confederate flags, statues, and other derogatory images, symbols and objects from public domain. Even the former $. President Trump begged for support to stop the removal of such racist symbols on July 4, 2020 at the Mount Rushmore Monument. We believe that our children should be taught to love their country, honor our history, and respect our great American flag. Applause. We stand tall, we stand proud, and we only kneel to Almighty God. Applause. This is who we are. This is what we believe. And these are the values that will guide us as we strive to build an even better and greater future. Those who seek to erase our heritage want Americans to forget our pride and our great dignity, so that we can no longer understand ourselves or America's destiny. In toppling the heroes of 1776, they seek to dissolve the bonds of love and loyalty that we feel for our country, and that we feel for each other. Their goal is not a better America, their goal is the end of America. These words coming from the mouth of one of America's highest and most powerful government official only confirms that addiction to the ideology, symbols, and statues of white supremacy is a powerful form of idolatry. This is especially true and outright dangerous when it is legitimized through the justification by the U-dollar. President. Spiritual paradigm shift. You shall utterly destroy all the places where the nations which you shall dispossess served their gods, on the high mountains and on the hills and under every green tree. And you shall destroy their altars, break their sacred pillars, and burn their wooden images with fire. You shall cut down the carved images of their gods and destroy their names from that place. Deuteronomy 12:2-3. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, SPLC, between 2015 to 2020 there were 168 racist statues and symbols removed from public display nationally. Even more, the SPLC went on to document that 94 of the Confederate symbols removed in 2020 were monuments, compared to 54 monuments removed between 2015 to 19. The SPLC also found that 2,100 public Confederate symbols remain, 704 of them monuments. While it was a great start in removing these symbols, I believe that as long as the 2,100 others remain, the national healing will not be complete. Also worth mentioning, the initiation process of tearing these idols only highlights the spiritual paradigm shift that is occurring throughout the world. It is wise to look back to our ancestors for guidance. Torah warned us of the seduction of idolatry, which is practically filling our minds with poisonous ideas. We as a nation of people, all cultures, can no longer allow ourselves or the generations after to be misled by the twilight of disappearing and shattered American idols. In addition, we should not miss the fact that other more fleshly American idols are falling from grace faster than the statues. Whether it's Sean P. Diddy Combs, Michael Richards, Bill Cosby, Matt Lauer, or Harvey Weinstein to name a few. These occurrences seem to be taking place every day. There seems to be a major shift in the gatekeeping community. The idols of old are being toppled due to the transparency the information age has provided to the public. Therefore, please take the time to examine yourself and your highest ideals, and if they are falling short of love, freedom, truth, unity, and justice. And if they are, then wash them out your heart and your mind. Spirituality is the deep and righteous acts of thinking and living in the most harmonious way with yourself, others, and nature. It matters little how many more racist idols are shattered and removed, if such ideas are not first removed from our hearts and minds. I read somewhere that when we change our thoughts, then our actions change. When we change our actions, then our character changes. When our character changes, then our destiny changes. I want to share one more inspiring and revealing Bible scripture where I discovered that we are all gods, Psalm 82, and that the law of the Yahweh is already inside each of us. For this commandment that I command you today is not too hard for you, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that you should say, who will ascend to heaven for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us, that we may hear it and do it. But the word is very near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you can do it. Deuteronomy 30:11-14. Now that we are amid the 2024 U.S. presidential election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the above rings even more true. All the power is inside the people, not officials or celebrities. Therefore, by protecting our minds, we won't allow the ideas of idolatry to have us chasing and accepting nonsense. When the real beauty has always been within each of us. Never bow to anyone or anything other than truth. Selah. Racism. Spirituality. Politics. Psychology. History. 1. Written by Leon Benson. 5 followers. 10 following. Poet, best-selling author, artist, exoneree, hip-hop artist, community organizer, abolitionist, re-entry coach, lived experience, philosopher, griot. Follow. No responses yet. Write a response. What are your thoughts? Cancel. Respond. More from Leon Benson. Leon Benson. The spectacle of injustice made the fool of the court. May 8. 1. Leon Benson. The lasting psychological damage of prison. A review of post-incarceration syndrome. May 19, 2024. 8. Leon Benson. The Caged Rose and Artemis of 10th Anniversary. Revisiting my 2015 induction to Vicarious, Desolate Perspectives. March 7th. Leon Benson. Imagine that. Walking in the shoes of the wrongfully incarcerated. February 22nd. See all from Leon Benson. Recommended from Medium. Oshana Tefnakar. This was the Ivanka Trump interview that spooked me. I never thought I'd feel sorry for someone like her. Trigger warning, CSA. May 6. 8K. 130. Daniel B. Gallagher. I had dinner with the new Pope. Here's what I remember. May 10. 1.7K.
What can I say?
We were made to bring the world to life. We the true Hebrew Israelites. Y'all got us, we gon' be alright. You heard that in Lamar's song, so you know that the vibe's strong. Y'all make an end out of King Kong. We've been inflicted and they wrong. We the people was all thrown. No others ain't even all clones. That's why they kill us with war drones. Trying to lay claim to our home. Our biggest prison is lies. Open your ears and your eyes. Don't be surprised. The world is still on in your life. We are the prize. It's time for us to break all of the ties. Whether you in Baltimore or divide. Wipe the tears from your eyes. All of my life for her, all of your crimes. All of my life for her, all of your crimes. So many tears, it can flood the earth not once but twice. Let my people go, but we ain't permit the years, but we gon' bring the world to fire. Let my people go for every single adversary you found the world to die. Let my people go, let my people go, go. Let my people go, let my people go, go. Let my people go, let my people go, go. Let my people go, let my people go, go. When the chauffeur blew, the people shouted, and all the walls of Jericho fell to the ground. Overstand, these walls are symbolic of the spiritual and psychological prisons we have been in for centuries. Now they have crumbled to the ground today. Only you can break the walls up again out of fear, disobedience of the law. Yeah, let my people go the world over, on every shore, in every nation. Let my shout be the chauffeur that break down every shackle and wall that binds them. This is liberation theology at its best. Let my people go.